give you a quick rundown on what I did in part one. So you would have seen we done a fair bit of work to the sprint car. We had some fuel issues and a power steering fluid leak down at Hobart, so we've got that sorted now. We've definitely got the power steering fluid leak sorted, and we're hoping we've got our fuel issues sorted. We've gone through the whole fuel system and give it a good clean, so that should be done. Today I'm going to get stuck into getting the T25 Formula 500 ready. This hasn't run for a while. Last time we had it out, Danny John took it out for a drive and it was having fuel issues as well, so we think it's a fuel pump. Also going to take out all the fuel filters and give them a clean. And just to be sure, I'm going to take the carbs off and give them a thorough clean. They weren't cleaned after the last race, but they've been sitting around for a while, so going to pull them off, clean them as well. But anyway, I'm going to get into this and I'll try and give you an update about halfway through on where we're at and have a chat at the end about what's happened. Cheers. Just wanted to quickly explain why I fired the car up and had it running even though I'm about to pull the carbs and the fuel pump and all that sort of stuff off. Basically, with the carbies not being run for a while, anything that's rubber, O-rings, diaphragms, all of that sort of stuff, it all kind of dries out from the methanol that's been run through it, which makes it a real pain in the ass to work with. So by running a heap of methanol through, it softens all that up, so it'll be easy to pull apart and put back together. And I can show you a perfect example of what I'm talking about. If you look down here, where the fuel comes into the carbs, where it hasn't been run for a while, if I turn the fuel pump on now, you will see methanol leaking out of there. You'd think that's a huge issue. But once I run this for about 30 seconds to 2 minutes sort of thing, then I'll just come back in half an hour, flick the fuel pump on, and that leak will have disappeared because all the rubbers will have swollen back up to the right size. So that's why I was running it all. Anyway, back to it. Start pulling this stuff apart now. Pull this fuel filter apart and have a look and see how dirty it is, eh? There's our issue. Big chunk of freaking rubber in there. Hopefully this one's a little bit cleaner. Find out in a minute. Let's crack this one open and have a look at it. Thinking this one's going to be clean. We'll find out. It's clean. I'm going to get in here and try and pull these carbs off. There's not as much room to get the camera in compared to the sprint car, but I'll try and show you what I'm doing. So just disconnecting the fuel line from the carbs now. Disconnect the throttle cable now if we can. One set of carbies. Let's start pulling these carbs apart then. These carbies actually appear to be working perfectly. I'm still going to pull them apart anyway. But yeah, everything seems pretty good, but if I don't check it, there'll be an issue with the track, so I'm going to check it anyway. Alright, so I've got the covers off the back of the carbs, these things, so I can get to the diaphragms and the slides now. It was a pain in the ass. These little screws here, they're all slogged out, so it's always an effort to get them out, but they're out now. So obviously caps come off, springs behind that, so that sits on there. Slide these out. Give them a clean with some CRC, clean in there, blast them all out with some air and put it all back together. And that's about halfway through the job once you get that done, so I'm going to get into that now. Alright, so now they're back in there. The next thing, it's important to make sure that you get these seated properly before you try and put anything back together, because if you don't get them in right, it won't seal up and the car will run like absolute crap. Alright, now I got these plates, I don't know what you call them, off the back, but they're off. We can have a look in here, and it's a good thing we pulled them apart, because these here are the floats, I'm pretty sure they're called. And see how this one goes up and down? That one kind of does a little bit. That one doesn't move, it's stuck down. That one's stuck down. So what there is down in there, just you can't really see, but in there there's a tiny little spring thing, and it gets all covered in, see this white chalky stuff? That's from the methanol. So undo these screws, pull them out, lube up those little piston spring things, whatever they are, spray out all in here, clean it all, put it all back together, and they'll be spot on. Alright, so I gave all these a bit of a spray with some CRC, and it's freed up all of them except for this one here, but I'm going to pull them all apart anyway, because I think they feel like they're a little bit lazy, if you know what I mean. And I want to give you a good look at one of these little spring thingies I'm talking about, because I got no idea what they're called. So this little thing here, and I don't know if you can see, but there's a tiny little, I don't know what you'd call it. I'm going to call it a little nipple, tiny little nipple thing, and they get stuck. So what you want to do is get something like a little screwdriver or a pick or something, give them a spray, and then just gently work them up and down a bit. So normally if they're real bad, what I'll do is I'll take them all off and sit them in a container and soak them for a while, because sometimes they seize up. This one here, it's stuck all the way down, so we'll move on to that one next, I reckon. See how we go. But this one's pretty good, so that's what you want. You just want it to do that. Move nice and free. So this one's good to go back in. We'll do the one that's not working at all. So yeah, you can see on this one, little nipple thing's stuck down all the way. Still a bit sticky, so I just keep working it for a while and then put it back together. Give the other two a clean, chuck them plates and everything back on, and then these are ready to go back on the car. Finally got the carbies back on. Absolute pain in the ass to get into those hose clamps, figuring out which way you can get into them, but they're on now. Next up is chucking the air filter on here. Then I can hook the fuel lines and stuff back up and put the fuel filters back in, and should be done with all that. So I'll get into that now. We'll give it a spray with some of this. Came in filter cleaning stuff. Now we let that soak for about 5 minutes and then chuck it into a big bucket of really hot water and give it a wash and soak it for an hour or two. I might have another one around here ready to go though. I'll have a look. Alright, here's one I prepared earlier. Now we got this stuff. I got a little bit left. Now this just sits on there, but before we put it on, I'll get some grease, and you run a bit of grease around here. And that's just to trap any dust that might get in any air gaps. So sit that there for now while I grab the grease. Well, that's me done with working on the Formula 500 for tonight. Not much more I can do. Got all the fuel lines, or fuel system cleaned out, carbs all cleaned out. It's all ready to go. I'll be able to fire it up tomorrow morning. Not too early, don't want to upset the neighbours. But I know it's going to run sweet. We'll get on to welding up that Nerf bar tomorrow. Then it's pretty much on to working on the 6 car, trying to get that figured out. So pretty happy with this one being 99% done. Just go over it tomorrow and cable tie the fuel pump and the filters up out of the way, and just do a bolt check and tidy it up, make sure everything's ready to go, and this one's done. So anyway, I'll see you in the next one, part 3.